A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Random House Audio presents Star Wars X-Wing Mercy Kill by Aaron Allston. Read for you by Marc Thompson.
Chapter 1. Rybester, Meridian Sector, 13 ABY, 31 years ago.
Imperial Admiral Kosh Teradoc paused, irritated and self-conscious, just outside the entryway into the club. His garment, a trades being's jumpsuit, was authentic, bought at a used clothes stall in a poverty-stricken neighborhood. And the wig that covered his military-cut blonde hair with a mop of lank, disarrayed brown hair was perfect. But his posture, he couldn't seem to shake off his upright military bearing, no matter how hard he tried. Loosening his shoulders, slumping, slouching, nothing worked for more than a few seconds.
"You're doing fine, Admiral."
That was one of his bodyguards, whispering.
Try smiling.
Teradoc forced his mouth into a smile and held it that way. He took the final step up to the doors. They slid aside, emitting a wash of warmer air and the sounds of voices, music, and clinking glasses. He and his guards moved into the club's waiting area. Its dark walls were decorated with hollows advertising various brands of drinks. The moving images promised romance, social success, and wealth to patrons wise enough to choose the correct beverage. And they promised these things to non-humans as well as humans. One of Teradoc's guards, taller and fitter than he was, and dressed like him, kept close. The other three held back as though they constituted a different party of patrons. The seater approached, a brown Chadrafan woman who stood only as tall as Teradoc's waist. She wore a gold hostess gown, floor-length, but exposing quite a lot of glossy fur. Teradoc held up 3 fingers. He enunciated slowly so she would understand. "Another will be coming! Another man joining us! You understand?" Her mouth turned up in the faintest of smiles.
"I do."
Her voice was light, sweet, and perhaps just a touch mocking.
"Are you the party joining Captain Hachax?"
Yes.
"He's already here. This way, please."
She turned and led them through broad, open double doors into the main room. Teradoc followed. He felt heat in his cheeks. The little Chadrafan, had she actually condescended to him? He wondered if he should arrange an appropriate punishment. The main room was cavernous, most of its innumerable tables occupied even at this late hour. The music and the din of conversation grew louder, and the smells. Less than a quarter of the patrons were human. Teradoc saw horned Deveronians, furry Bothans, diminutive Sulastans, enormous green-skinned Gamorreans, and more. And he fancied he could smell every one of them, and their alcohol. "You're upright again, sir. You might try slouching." Teradoc growled at his guard, but complied. There was one last blast of music from the upraised stage, and then the band, most of the players non-human, rose to the crowd's applause. They retreated behind the stage curtain. Moments later, the noise of the audience, hundreds of voices changed, lowered, became expectant in tone. A new act filed out on stage. 6 Gamorrean males, dressed in nothing but loincloths, their skin oiled and gleaming, moved out and arrayed themselves in a chevron-shaped formation. Recorded dance music, heavy on drums and woodwinds, blasted out from the stage's sound system. The Gamorreans began moving to the music. They flexed, shimmied, strutted in unison. A shrill cry of appreciation rose from Gamorrean women in the audience, and from others as well. Tailor-made shuddered and vowed to sit with his back to the dancers. The Chadrafan led him to a table only a few meters from the stage. A human man sat there already. Of medium height and muscular, he was young, with waist-length red hair in a braid. Costume jewelry, polished copper inset with black stones, was woven into the braid. He wore a long-sleeved tunic decorated with blobs of color of every hue, mismatched and discordant. It clashed with his military-style black pants and boots. He stood as Tailor-made and his guard arrived.
Captain Hachat?
The one and only. Hachat sat again and indicated the guard. Who's your friend? He looks like 100 kilos of preserved meat. The Chadrafan seater, satisfied that she had discharged her duty, offered a little bow.
Your server will be here in a few moments.
She turned and headed back to her station. Tailor-made glared after her and seated himself, facing away from the stage. He waited until his guard was in a chair before continuing.
Your messenger hinted at names. I want to hear them now, and to see proof.
Hachat nodded. Of course. But first, would it help you to stop smiling? It looks like it's hurting your face.
Yes.
Tailor-made relaxed, realized that his cheek muscles were indeed aching. He glanced around, noted the postures of many of the patrons around him, and slid down a little in his chair to match their slouches. Much better. Hachat sipped his drink, a poisonous-looking yellow concoction that glowed from within. There were 2 glasses, mostly empty, but with a similar-looking residue at the bottom beside it. All right. I run a private space naval operation specializing in covert operations, especially retrievals. Tailor-made suppressed a sigh.
Why can't they ever just say I'm a pirate, a smuggler, a low-life piece of scum, he said to himself, with something to sell? Honesty would be so refreshing.
We recently found a prize vessel, one whose value could enable us to retire in luxury. Tailor-made shrugged.
Go on.
The Palace of Pethet Bright Eyes.
I thought that was what your messenger was hinting at. But it's preposterous. In the centuries since it disappeared, the palace has never been sighted, never reported. It will never be found.
Hachat grinned at him. But it has been. Abandoned, intact, unplundered, in an area of your sector well away from settlements or trade routes.
If you'd found it, you'd be selling off its jewels, its furnishings, all those paintings, through a fence. Yet you come to me. You're lying.
Here's the truth, Admiral. The vessel's anti-personnel defenses are still active. I lost a dozen men just getting into a secondary vehicle bay, where I retrieved 1 artifact and some lesser gems. Oh yes, I could fire missiles at the palace until it cracked. But I would prefer to lose half its contents to a worthwhile partner than to explosions and hard vacuum. At least I'd get a partner and some goodwill out of it. Tailor-made rubbed at his temple. The boom, boom, boom from the sound system on stage behind him was giving him a headache. He returned his attention to Hachat.
Don't use my rank. Don't speak my name here.
Whatever you want. Hachat took another sip of his drink. You have access to Imperial intelligence resources, the best slicers and intrusion experts in the galaxy. They could get past those defenses and make us both rich.
You mentioned an artifact.
I have it with me. A show of faith, just as you proposed.
Show me.
Tell your bruiser not to panic. I'm only reaching for a comm link. Tailor-made glanced at his guard, gave a slight nod. Hachat pulled free a small device clipped to his shirt collar and pressed a button on the side. All right, it's coming. They didn't have to wait long. A meter-tall Sullustan male in the blue and cream livery of the club's servers approached, awkwardly carrying a gray flimsiplast box nearly as tall as himself and half as wide and deep. He set it on the table beside Hachat's empty glasses. Hachette tipped him with a cred coin, and the Celestin withdrew. Pterodon.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?